this computer. And as always, welcome to Shay Spiritual Insights. And Shay was actually late today to his own event, so that's amazing. Anyway, so how's everybody doing? Good?
Good.
You know what? One of the things that I felt that Debra and I were talking about it, and I don't know if others are having it happen. And here's Debra.
Hi.
Hi, Debra.
Crazy. We just got back from swimming.
We were swimming, and I totally would.
Hi, Deb.
We did our 30th wedding anniversary thing. I just came back and unplugged. I just didn't even realize it. So, we were just talking about how we feel like, kind of like for many of us, and I just think this is, I think it's part of the soul group too. I think we're kind of finishing one phase and moving into another, and I've seen the paths coming up, but I'm certainly feeling it in our lives. So, what do you think? Anybody have anything to share? And I'm going to just start with Lisa, since you're in my upper left-hand corner of my screen. I'm going to start there.
Well, I'm going to ask you, Jeff, get a little bit more specific about what you just said, as far as how is that showing up in your life, where you're saying, feeling like things are finishing and then you're moving up to something else. What does that look like?
Well, how it feels, and I've had phases like this before, but this is one where everything kind of just fades. Certain relationships, certain activities, certain things just kind of come to a natural end. It's not like they were stopped. They naturally are done. They fade like the end of a movie, and then I'm feeling like it's a blank period, and I know more is coming, but it's a matter of, and I can sense the light, I can see the light coming in the path, but I don't know what it is. And as I look for it, as they show me it for the soul group, I can see that there's old threads ending, and then they're kind of like multiple threads of related activities and areas for the culture. And I'm not sure what those are. I don't have a name for them. I just see them there. They are there. And then new ones coming in, and there's a number of them. And I also see it. And I think for others, as part of this group, I think that's true of us too. I think a lot of us are finishing up certain things. It doesn't mean everything's coming in, but a lot of certain activities are coming, and then new things are starting. So that's why I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Well, definitely feels like we're moving on, or I feel like I'm moving into another place. I don't know how to articulate that. It's more energetic than like a physically, of course. And we were kind of just talking about this earlier, kind of me and Marci. What I'm experiencing with the intense energy probably the last couple weeks. Today I literally had to stand up and walk out of lunch. I didn't even get lunch because the conversation got so heated, and the energy just was so intense that, again, my body starts to kind of shake, and it's like I have to move. I have to leave. I can't stay and absorb it or whatever. And it's getting harder. It's like I'm experiencing where just so many people are in crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my natural response is, how can I help you? And so I was doing this landscaping work for some people, really nice people. And then the next thing I know, they've got all this relationship stuff coming up. Venus is in retrograde, so I guess that's why.
Mm-hmm.
It's up all the old baggage. And then I'm kind of in the middle of it, and I'm trying to how do I navigate it? And then and then today I'm talking to the lady and I'm trying to be supportive, but they're going into, she's going into the story, and then she's tearing all these people down, specifically her husband, especially. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I have a really hard time listening to the victim energy, the consciousness, and going down this, because I'm like, okay, how can we resolve this? What can we do? How do we, change it, fix it, whatever? But what I didn't realize is that she just wanted me to sit there and listen and agree with everything. And so when I started asking questions, she got defensive and thought I was attacking her.
She wanted to be validated. You're right. That's what she was looking to have. Her perspective and viewpoint be the viewpoint that is correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And her husband told me, he says the moment that somebody goes against what her point of view is, and then that's when issues start arising. Well, I got to experience that firsthand today. And then so and then because she moved out of the house for a couple days, and then he called her back. They got back together today. And I just said, well, it's just going to be the same old stuff, just realize that there's still going to be abuse and all of this stuff. But I just, I thought they were wanting some help. So I don't know how to navigate. It seems like the moment I get out around people, like these things start blowing up and the energy starts coming back at me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And part of it is because, and I know I've watched this happen when a lot of these kinds of energies come in, and people who don't have a spiritual focus, at least have the awareness. They may have some spiritual focus, but don't have the awareness. All they know is they can feel their buttons being pushed, and then they project it out into their environment and onto others. And it really does create discord. And it's just part of the moving on. This is that picture that June used to tell me about. We are to be surfers riding the wave, to crest the wave and not holding on to things. Because if we try to hold on to our old patterns and everything else and our own viewpoints, we're like holding on to the bottom of the rock, and the wave is going to tumble us across. And that's what a lot of people out there in the world are experiencing right now. And they think it's out there, but the reality is it's their own inability to flow with the changes in their lives that are happening. And because of that, I don't know there's a lot you can do, because one of the things that's happening, as I mentioned, is because you're a channel of light, you're kind of intensifying the very thing that's happening to them. So, which is a good thing, but I don't know what to share with you other than to be guided in the moment, as I think you have been. Yeah.
I just don't feel like I'm maneuvering it very well or handling it, because all of a sudden I end up in a kind of a mess, and I'm like, how did this happen? How did I get here? And I think I'm expressing myself okay, and then it comes off completely different to the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just like, you're being negative, negative, negative. And I'm like, you're the one saying all these things about all these all these people that aren't nice, and I'm the negative one. So
yeah, and sometimes it may be one of those environments where if you're there for landscaping, just say I'm just here for landscaping, or not be there at all. Because some people, we've learned, we just can't be around them. The minute we get there, they want to engage in this, what you're talking about, these kinds of behaviors, projection onto others, and negative, and flowing through their negative cycle attachments to their own stuff, and it just they spiral up, in a negative way, and they won't allow themselves to be calmed sometimes, and there are people that are like that. And then it'll go through phases with them too, because eventually it will subside, and then you can have normal interaction with them again. I don't know where they are, but she's got a bunch of stuff coming up right now. Boy, oh boy. I don't know to tell you, it's going to be coming for a while too. It will subside, but I'm not sure how soon.
Well, the work was really good. They were paying me well, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm helping them do this stuff they can't, and they're helping me, and so I don't know. I just told her husband, I'm just going to step back. And he said, yeah, that'll be good. And that was it.
Yeah. Now, when you say you step back, are you going to look at just not be there for a little while and then come back, or?
I don't know.
Okay. Play it by ear?
It's up to them. Yeah.
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 That makes sense.
Because I think once you're, like he said, she's run a bunch of people off. And once you don't agree with everything, then, and if you've got somebody that's saying all these not nice things about all these other people, you're going to be on the end of that too. So I'm sure
Yes.
she's saying a bunch of stuff about me now and how I'm this bad person, because you got to find somebody to blame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm leaving for a week on Wednesday, and so I guess I'll just see when I come back.
Yeah, and see what else comes up. And but it does look, it does look like it was a fair, pretty decent pay, actually. It looks like it was a pretty good deal, a pretty good gig in that respect, but you
Yeah.
got the rest of it that is not tenable. So
Well, and the husband, he's always been really nice to me. And, he's not one, he didn't get too much into what was going on, but she just wanted me to side with her and to listen and all of that. And I was like, oh, I'm just trying to be neutral party. I'm friends with both of you. I'm not going to take sides, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that's again, that looks like it's going to likely to continue. I think your sense of the situation, you've got a good lay of the land on this, and I don't know how viable it's going to be for you, but you know what, just be open and see where things go. But I wouldn't be surprised if it'll be something that you choose not to do. Yeah. But she is going to calm down here. There's just that is coming, but I'm just not sure. She's probably one who holds on to things, as you can tell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, wow. So you've had an exciting time, I can see.
Yeah. I feel like, okay, I need to get out, be more social, and then these things come up and I'm like, oh, and then they're inviting me to have dinner and different things. I'm like, okay, so I'm getting a little more social. But I guess the question I was going to have for you before this happened today was, I feel like just, even if I'm not talking, but just being in these people's presence, not that I'm anything special, but because I'm more clear, like I feel like it's bringing stuff up for those people that I'm around, and then it makes me feel like I can't be around people.
That does happen, and it has increased, as you're probably aware. I'd say over time, but markedly in the recent past, and it's going to continue. And that is, that energy coming out. It pushes their buttons, because you're the channel of things for them, and it's going right to the places it needs to go. But there's the very things that they're holding on to. For those who are ready for it, it can be a real gift. Your being in their presence can be a real. They can be uplifted, and they'll find it a wonderful experience. But this, about the two Buddhas, right? What's it, Shamshuri, whatever. The peaceful Buddha is when we are flowing with our higher guidance, and this is anybody, and all is flowing. We're letting things unfold as they should. We're letting things go and bringing things in as we are to do. But when we are not, the wrathful Buddha shows up when we are holding on to things, the ego, low self, and it cuts. And that's when you see the sword. That's the other Buddha, and that's what they're experiencing. That's what's happening to them. They're experiencing that turmoil, and it looks like it's you or anyone else doing it, but the reality is they are the source of it all, because they're holding on to things, and the energy is trying to get them to let go, and her to let go and move on. And I think that's going to be the nature of that's the nature of being a vessel and of light and an instrument of the divine. Sometimes things, and it's all dependent on how the other person, how much they're willing to truly embrace their spiritual path and flow with things. And you'll know by their response. And unfortunately, you become the sound. You get to be the receiver on the other end when they're not as responsive. But then you're the receiver too when they are. So you have to just be who you are and flow with it. And when and if you feel like in the situation it's time to go, then go. And come back another time. Bless the situation, wish them well, and move on. But I think you already know what the situation is. I don't think there's anything more for me to say in this.
It just feels more challenging because there's less and less people that I can really hang out with here, where those things aren't going to happen. And then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just came to me. The spiritual master I knew, and I mentioned his name before, Peter Navarro, very much to himself. And he talked about this. I was over visiting, I don't know, 20 years ago, and he started talking, and he did like anyone who knew Dr. McKimmey, he would do the same thing, very same phenomenon. You start talking and you realize, oh, the story is about me. I need to pay attention. And he says, when we're on the spiritual path, it's like a pyramid. And many of you have heard of this. When we're at the base, there's lots of things to do, lots of activities. But as we move up, there's less and less people where we are. And as we move even higher, it becomes a more singular experience. Debra and I talk about we're monks in a monastery because there's so few people that we can hang out with, and it's the nature of it. And that is what is happening to you. So what you are to do is just be who you are in the presence. If you can connect with someone, or you can be with someone and be of help, or they can, or you both connect and you're a service to each other, do that. Cherish the moments and the opportunities. But this is the nature of the path that I would say everyone on this call is on, and is certainly the one that you're on. I'd like to give you other news, but that's what the image they just showed me. And that was your higher guidance. They just showed me that image of you on the pyramid and you're moving up.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'd like to be able to give you the other news, but that's it. But it's actually it's a blessing because it means you're walking the path, that your soul's higher path. That's what you're doing, and it's truly a blessing because that's what we set forth to do before we came, and it's certainly what you did, and more is coming. So, well, thank you for sharing. Is your hairstyle different? Did you change your hairstyle?
It's just curly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was something you did or if it's just something that well, it looks nice.
Yeah, I've been working outside so much and having to shower so, often that it's too much work to blow it dry straight, flat iron it. So it's natural today.
Well, wonderful. I like it. Well, anyway, just keep being you. That's the greatest gift anyone you can give to yourself, and it's the greatest gift you can give to others. Just keep being who you are. And if they have a problem, it's their problem. It's their challenge. So
I think a lot of people have a problem with me.
and it's happening. It's because what's happening again. Those tests they used to do, psychological tests. They used to do with certain sounds, and they gave people a button. Some people would have buttons, other people wouldn't. And this energy coming in, because it's like the ultrasonic sounds they did the studies that the government did back in the 50s and 60s, and they discovered it would cause people to be very agitated, but they didn't know what was causing it because it was above their audible range. This is the same thing with this energy. It's pushing their buttons, and for those who are ready, again, it flows well and they move on, and things are, it's the peaceful Buddha. But for those who are not ready, the mechanisms of life come as the wrathful Buddha, where it starts cutting things away and it becomes a traumatic or very much a much more harsh experience for them. and they think that it's the out there, the world doing it to them, when in reality it's just they're just holding on to the old patterns. So anyway, well, thank you for sharing. And I'm going to move on to Pat. Do you have anything to share, to ask, or both?
How about I be last?
Okay,
Thank
that works. How about Franny? Are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
All
Oops,
right.
there we go.
Anything to share? Anything to ask, or both? As always, what do you have?
Well, when you were talking in the beginning, I definitely feel for myself personally, there are cycles ending, and so I'm curious about that, what that means, what that holds for me. I feel like the great wheel of life is turning and I'm getting closer to retirement. I don't have any set date or plans for that, but I'm looking toward that and wrapping up some other things to get there. So anyway, that's been on my mind. And when you talk about the pyramid, that makes sense to me because I feel like a lot of my old friends have fallen away and that's kind of lonely, it can be hard at times. And so just hearing that it might be a reflection of where I'm going, where I am on my path is a good way for me to think about it. So so I'll comment on that and then I'll ask the question of um do you have any information or insights for me as I look toward uh, kind of wrapping things up and stepping into whatever might be next for me?
Yeah, and it's actually, I'm not sure how useful it is, but it's really what's coming from your high self and your guidance. Just flowing with it. Just do it. Jump in there with both feet. Let the cycles end. Let the new things begin. And there's going to be some, and I'm seeing this. Sometimes there aren't gaps. All of a sudden something ends and everything. Before you know it, the next thing has already begun. I think there's going to be sometimes that'll happen with you, but there'll be gaps with certain areas of your life. But it needs to, in the areas where there's gaps, it needs to be there so that it kind of the energies become quiescent before the new ones come in, so that you can be totally removed from the old ones before you're moving into the new ones in whatever domain of life it is. But you're already doing it. Just what your statement was accurate. That is what's happening, and that's happening with so many people. Debra, you and I usually become aware of these things. And I think that's just the universe allowing us to be sometimes, other times it's others, like such as yourself and Lisa, but it allows us to become kind of I say a bellwether, it's not the right word, but the church bell of what's going on with others. We become aware of it and then we share it. And then the next thing you know, it's what many people are going through, especially those on the committed spiritual path, which everyone here is. So just do it. And yes, your things are ending. And I think some of it hasn't been determined yet. And what I mean is you have, depending on how things, yes, your things are falling away and the new things come, you may choose to go over and experience things this path or over here in this one. And then it won't be like it just stays there. It'll meander and move into the other areas anyway. It's just a matter of, I don't know, do I do the French fries first or do I take a bite of the hamburger first? What am I going to do first? What's the next thing coming? And you're in the period of sifting through it as it comes in. So you're on track. That's my short answer. You're on track. Just do what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Wow, I love to hear these things. Eryn, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Go ahead. Anything to share, to ask both? As you know, I just love to hear what's going on in everyone's life.
Yeah, I had a period of time where I wasn't working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was getting a little concerned. And then all of a sudden I started getting some more temp jobs. So
Mm-hmm.
that was okay. I still am waiting to know what what my next job's gonna be, that like more of a career type job. But I'm working at the center that has the energy enhancement system
Mm-hmm.
and doing the social media stuff. And I'll be doing some of the overnights.
Ooh.
So I did one session in there overnight. So that was cool. But the next day, like I was super grumpy, and there's just a pain in my back that's like pretty intense. It's like behind my heart. And I'm just ready for that to be dissolved completely. And I'm feeling impatient. But I feel like the more overnights I do, that will help it release. But yeah, anyway, I really like working there, even though it's just one day a week and then maybe a couple of overnights here and there. But that's exciting, except I noticed a really big pattern that's showing up of like, I get dissatisfied. Like I see solutions to problems that are happening, and then I get frustrated when those solutions, like people don't want to implement those solutions or those systems. So I'm like, okay, like we can streamline this and make it super simple and easy and fast for everybody. And then it's like, well, I don't know, because there's this reason why we can't do it and this reason. And that's happened like at all the jobs. And then I start getting frustrated, and like I don't, yeah, it just like gets obsessive. And then it ruins my relationship with the people, basically.
Yeah. I got a few things to relate to you from your higher guidance, specifically your high self. The first question she said as you were talking, she says, basically, what do you want? She said, basically, you're kind of it's like you're not quite ready to have the next career thing yet. You're still at the smorgasbord testing out all the different flavors of the stuff on the food bar there, and you haven't quite figured out which ones. And also, as you were talking, I'm going to kind of not necessarily go in order here. As you were talking about the solutions, that happens as you become more and more, as you're flowing with your guidance, and it becomes clear what the solution is. But some people like to hold on to their limitations. You know, to quote Richard Bach, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. That's when people, as much as they will claim that they want to have solutions and they want to have things better, they do everything but that, especially, and you can always tell when that is, when you offer a solution, they don't want it. You just bless them and know that it is not for you, that you've been given it, you've shared it, and that's what you can do. Eventually, and I think you're going to see this, that you will find you'll be in environments where they're more receptive to it. Okay. And the next thing that they showed me as you were talking, when you first took the first seminar, the Intuitive Mastery Seminar, one of the things I noticed is you on your back, and this is where past life stuff comes up. It attaches back here, and then it manifests through the chakras into the front, and it looks like it's up here, but in reality, it's coming up through the Kundalini. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I saw a lot of it, and then so much stuff got cleared through the seminars. You really let go of lots of stuff. And then, and as time has gone on, you've let go of some more. You have another wave of it coming up, and that may sound like that's not a good thing, but the reality is it is a good thing, because the reason why it's coming up, your balloon is ready to go higher. You need to let go of that ballast. A lot of it will fall away, but some of it's going to get processed through your energy system. And tying it back to the question of the job, part of the reason why you're going through all these different temp things is because it's facilitating, I won't say what it's necessary for you to process this stuff, but it's allowing these things for the different environments to have process and release different energies. And you're kind of doing it in your own inner way that allows the energies to be more innocuous than they would be if you had more, I'm going to say active attention. That's not the right word, but anyway, it's allowing them to happen more in a beneficial way for you and not having where it becomes negatively intense as much. We all have some of that come up anyway, but all you have to do is once we know what it is, we can bless it. But that's what you're doing. And part of it is you're not at a place yet in the processes of life and all the things going on to where you're quite ready to move into another, I say more singular career, but you need this. That is part of this is part of the life experience that is facilitating the very thing, far as your life path goes, you're seeking, which is this growth, and it's happening. So it may look like it's a negative, and in some ways in the physical world it is, because it's, you want more stable things and a regular job. But the reality is it's really serving your higher good. That's what's happening right now. So that's the pluses and minuses with it. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I can deal with that.
Your guides are actually glad you're receptive to it. They know you don't necessarily like it, and sometimes we don't have to like, we can acknowledge we don't like parts of it, but also acknowledge that it's serving our higher good. And it is. Eventually you'll be done sampling the food platters, and we're going to move on to what you're going to be doing more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on Saturday, I get to work at like a bounce house for kids, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. Actually, it is. And what's interesting is in these environments that you go into, they bring up the different mixes of energies of the people, and the environment allows you to work on this stuff over here now, or during that one environment, and go over here, and then you get to work on this one. And that wouldn't happen if you were in just a regular job where we have any job we're in for over a length of time, we get all these attachments. And although it's a good thing stability wise, it also kind of sometimes holds us back from our own higher good. So anyway.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Well, thank you for sharing it. I'm actually excited for you. I actually like the thing you're talking about. I'm going to make a real digression real quick. The one thing, I'm not one to stick with anything any length of time. The fact that I had a Navy career is amazing. And the only reason I had a Navy career was about every 18 months, sometimes 12 months to 3 years, sometimes some in that period, I'd be done with the one thing, and then they'd send me off, go do something else. And although it was maybe in computers, it might be instructing, it might be fixing. The next time it might be, who knows what it would be. It was always a little bit of variety, of spice of life. So from my perspective, I really feel like this is a blessing for you, but that's easy for me to say, but it really is. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, I'm going to move over to Tonya. Do you have anything to share, to ask, or both?
Hello.
Hello.
I do. So I've been kind of in a funk for a little bit, like low grade last couple months, just have been off, kind of a lot of stuff going on. And I noticed this week, it's like either something lifted, something shifted, something changed I just feel a lot better. Like I've noticed like interactions with people are so much better this week with clients. It feels like my intuition is coming back. So whatever was kind of like lingering, it just feels lifted. So things are going better definitely this week. Yeah, I don't really have any specific questions or kind of anything, but just things feel like they're on a good path this week.
Yeah, and what I'm showing is there's this pattern of connections and behaviors and just the way, the way your life had been, and it shifted. It was like it fragmented. I sometimes see this as when I see glaciers, they show it to me as if for someone like a major piece of an iceberg fell off and it's drifting out into the ocean to be dissolved and stuff. And it fractured, and it's energy coming up. And it's the reason why, and I will affirm that and confirm what you're saying. And it's happening this way so as to happen at a pace that doesn't become disruptive to your life, that allows, it's a little slower and can be a little annoying sometimes because things linger that we don't like, but it also allows for you to a little bit of bask in the glow as the changes come in, and as things fall away, it happens gently enough to where it's a good thing for you and not, again, a disruptive thing. Because if things happen too quickly for people, and I've been one where I've asked for it and then gotten it, it can, because of all these connection points we have in the various energetic bodies, our mental body, emotional body, spirit, astral body, and so on and so forth. It can cause us to become emotionally and mentally unglued, and then it can just spiral out of control in our life if it happens too quickly. And this is allowing you to have things gently for now. And as you're ready for it to speed up, it will. But the one caution I'm getting in is from your one guide and your high self. She says, yeah, when you think you're ready for it, ask it to move, you can ask for it to move more quickly, but also be ready if you're not ready for it to allow it to slow down again. But things are going to, I think, as time goes on over the next months, and I say years, but in the coming months and in the unfoldment of months and in your life path, more of the stuff's going to fall away, more the new, it's going to clear and allow things to happen more quickly. It'll also happen more smoothly. And they just caution you to not wish it to go any quicker than it organically does, because this really is what serves you well. I guess I'm going to say it that way.
Yeah, the speed of things and having things, kind of go a little bit more slowly and having patience with it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that repeatedly from you and, other people too, actually. And it was frustrating at first, but I'm starting to embrace that a little bit more. So
yeah, and enjoy it while you do, because I can being shown, it's hard to tell time on the inner plane, but you're going to probably start noticing in maybe, I'm going to say 6 to 8 months, like, oh boy, things are moving. We were doing 10 miles an hour, now we're doing 20 or 15. And then 18 months from now, it's 20, 25. And then then what'll happen, and this is a natural thing, it kind of goes in a little sine wave. When we're ready for it, it goes faster. And then what happens after we've done a bunch of growth, then it looks like we're not growing, but the reality is what we're doing is we're integrating what we've learned, and then letting that kind of solidify, letting that bake a little bit, and before we move on to the next level. And you're going to see some of that coming. So things are moving for you, and they're moving the way they need to and should. And I don't have anything more than just to say keep flowing with it. That seems to be a period that we're in right now. For those who are ready, just flow with it, and all is well. And you're not holding on, which is a good thing, which in the past you have done, sometimes consciously, sometimes non-consciously, sometimes a combination of both. But this, although slower, this flowing that you're having happen is really, again, it's what's best. Anyway, I've said enough. I don't want to repeat myself.
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. I always like to, again, hear what's happening, and be shown that, your guides should show me the stuff as you're talking, and which is always exciting to see. So, all right, I'm going to move on. The next person on the screen is Jessica. do you have anything to share, to ask, or both? I'd love to hear what you have to say as well. Well, we'll come back to Jessica. Marci, hello there. How's Hawaii? Is it still there?
It's still here.
Oh, that's wonderful to
still
hear. The islands are still floating. I mean, they haven't gone, haven't moved anywhere. So how are things for you? Anything to share? Anything to ask, or both?
Oh boy. Well, at the beginning, you know, when you were saying it felt kind of like things were wrapping up, maybe getting ready to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
There was kind of that sense with we did the camping for 3 weeks up on the land, and we came back to the house on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came back, it was like the house felt empty. It was really strange. It was not like a heavy presence or anything. It was just like nothing. It wasn't like, oh yay, I'm back, look at the beautiful ocean or anything. It was just like flat. And we both felt it, and it was like, well, that's interesting. There's the feeling here of it being so hot most of the time that you're looking out at life, you're looking at the ocean, but you're not really being a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas up on the land, it's full-on engagement with all of nature. And and then the people here had left like an 8-page letter, like a kind of laundry list of do things this way, you know, we did this and this, and some assumptions and some kind of not really blame, but maybe blame, and you know, all that kind of mix of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we both were just like, maybe it's time to go. Maybe it's time to just be up on the land. And so when you mentioned that at the beginning of the talk about it kind of feeling like something might be completing and something new, that was kind of in the air. And that's kind of the sense.
Yeah.
And it did bring stuff too, the letter that they left, you know, it was, the lady's letter was okay, the guy's letter was not okay. And it was kind of like wanting to speak up for yourself and set things straight and explain things. And but then from another aspect, it's like, no, just leave it all alone. You know, it's more coming from lower self wanting to be right and defend itself. So just leave that part alone. But yet that was on Monday, and it still keeps replaying for me. So I haven't totally let go of that lower part that wants to explain it and make it right. And anyway, that's kind of a digest of what this has been about. So
Well, that seems to be a theme during this this insights session that we're having here. I think that's what's happening with everyone, and it's certainly happening in the world for those who are allowing it to happen. And what happens when we go away, like what happened to me here? I mean, I just unplugged and I totally lost. And when I came back, I just wasn't ready to plug back in. And that's what happened to you when you went on the land. Sometimes we go away, we naturally, energetically unplug from where we were, and those things that are no longer for us dissolve. And so we come back, we feel like, oh, where are all the connections? Where's all the, where's it, like you were saying? And that's what happened to you. And that is part of what we've been talking about the last couple of insights, is to feel like some changes, opportunities for a shift in whatever is coming next for you. And that what happened here is part of that process. And to talk about with the letter from the guy, I agree with you. That's yucky. That's him. That's his stuff. And you're prudent to just, I say, to the extent, just bless it and send it on its way. If you have to acknowledge, talk about something, I don't think he will very much. That's just him. That's him being him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm gonna, that's it. And I think you know that. And the more you would, if you try to engage it, he's not looking for a solution. He's just looking to be that's his stuff. Anyway, you already know that. You
Yeah.
already know that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is how it felt. It was like being unplugged from the house. And I never really wanted to leave this house for more than a night or so. I always felt like I needed to keep a connection to it for some reason, like to keep it safe or something. I don't know. I know the nature spirits watch over stuff, but I don't know what it is. It's the connection. And it was like knowing somebody else was here. I didn't have to think about being connected to the house, and I did totally disconnect from it. And it feels good. It feels good to be just like free of the connections.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it was interesting because it happened with in a way to the ocean too. Because when I came back into the house and I looked out at the water and it's $1 million view, I didn't feel anything. It was like, oh, this is just a label. This is just like name and form. This isn't any different than anything else. We just give it meaning. And so there was like a deeper realization going on.
Yeah, and you really have kind of moved on. I mean, it allowed things to unplug and for things to then, for the next thing to start, you're moving that, the ball's rolling forward and it's moving into new connections, and where that goes, I don't know what that is for you. Does it mean you leave? Does it mean you stay? Does it mean you do something different? I don't know the answer to that. I just know that is what, it was time for that to happen, and it happened. And if you allow it, it will continue.
If I allow,
Just, the disconnection, the reconnection that happened
Yeah.
as a result of your being gone, even though you're back, it can still happen. That process is ongoing, and it will continue to go. And then as you move into the next energetic flow that's coming your way, then you will have an opportunity to that will, you'll start moving into that and see what that is. And they're not letting me see. I mean, they're keeping your guides and the universe and your higher guidance is keeping it pretty much the cards close to their vest, because they're giving me no sense of what it is that's coming for you.
yeah, well, for now it's moving up onto the land, and it's a little bit, it's not that big a deal. I mean, we were up there 3 weeks, and you don't eat very good food, but it's not that big a deal.
Sure.
In good weather, but it won't be immediate, because there's things we have to get out of here. And I guess it's okay if it takes a couple months. It doesn't have to be right this minute. But that's how it feels to me. Does that look like a brighter path?
It looks like the next path.
Okay.
So, okay. But it's going to get kind of fragments and splits, and I'm not sure what that means. Just different facets of the same path. How you choose, again, I don't know. But it was time for this to happen, and it's happening.
Yeah.
And again, as we're talking about with other people, I'm seeing it's kind of a natural organic. That's what I'm seeing with this group here, with all of you, is you're flowing with it in your own way, allowing things to happen, even when not everything is ideal. And because of that, it's just happening in its natural organic unfoldment, which is what is to happen for us. And when we allow it, it's the peaceful Buddha. And all I can say, for your high self is smiling. She's pleased, and she's not saying a word.
Okay, good. Yeah, and other than that, there's been some, interesting physical things, feeling like little acupuncture needles are going in and out, and moments of time, just for a fraction of a second, time would stop, and different sounds, one time up on the land, Doug and I both were sitting there, and we both heard a voice like a singing, and he thought it was me, and it wasn't me. But you know, just fun, weird little physical stuff going on. So yeah.
Well, it's like that did happen. I can tell you that. I'm not sure who it was, but it was happening.
Yeah, it was, there was no question about it.
Yeah,
And we both heard it, you know,
Yeah.
well, that's interesting. We both heard it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if occasionally that happens to me too. One time I was in my car, my old car, and I was driving cross country. I would think I was on a trip. It was part of my military thing, and I was using my car to get there. And all of a sudden I was on this real quiet, so I had to go slow because it was a windy road. I could hear this flute, and it was like the old kind of flutes, the ancient flutes, like Pied Piper flutes. And I realized that it was David from the Bible playing his flute. He played it as a child, and he was playing it, and I was hearing this for like 20-30 minutes, and it was very much like the flute was being played in the car. And I'm certain if I turned on a recorder, I probably wouldn't have recorded it. But yeah, so that just means we're plugged in and ready to receive and hear it. So that's what happened.
Yeah. And then this just came to mind. I remember like probably 3 of my dreams recently, and you've been in it. You and Debra were in one of them. And it was like, well, this is interesting. And I'm always a little bit curious, like, is the consciousness from this mind using the qualities it sees in you to give me the message, or are you actually there?
It's kind of both. Whenever you interact with someone in a dream, you're dealing with an aspect of their being, and they are the vehicle and instrument of higher guidance for us in that dream. So, so what you just said is yes, that's true. Yes and yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, my other thing would be, I would like to know how your anniversary honeymoon went.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was just, make it brief. We were up to Canada and we went to Ainsworth, Hot Springs, and that was nice. But they're remote communities, so there's not a lot to do. But we went to Caslow, and which has got a little old boat that used to go up and down the lake to service the community before roads were in. So that was fun. We saw that. And we just enjoyed being there together in the hot springs. And then we went to Nelson, which is, they say, is a hippie city. And it really kind of is in a good way. I mean, flower children kind of hippie, and there's graffiti all over the place, but it's good graffiti, just painted, artistic stuff. And the people were pleasant. We thought there was going to be all kinds of shopping, but there wasn't. And we had our honeymoon, or I think of it as a honeymoon. I know it's an anniversary, but it's a honeymoon to us. And we went to the Hume Hotel, which is like 100-and-some-year-old hotel. Oh, it was just a wonderful evening. We were in the library room, which it was appropriately named, where we had food in the library room. It was, and they were playing, some live artists were playing some jazz, and they'd also play a little bit of old country, nice, uplifting. It was just a wonderful time we had together. And we stayed at a B&B, which was kind of a different place. And it was just a wonderful time. And that's why when I came back, that's why tonight, I apologize again. I was just unplugged, and Shays Insights wasn't even on my brain. I just totally, had Pat not called, I probably would have realized it tomorrow. So it was a wonderful time, but I'm glad to be with everyone here because it reconnects me and reconnect with all the spiritual energies. And then it's wonderful to do this. So that's my short version, but it was wonderful.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you for sharing. All right. Jessica, are you there?
Yes, I couldn't find my unmute button.
Okay,
before.
that's all right. Anything to share, to questions, either one? Cool.
Well, yeah. So since Venus went into retrograde, I don't know, I've just been like super introverted and not really wanting to like interact with people or anything. And so I've had that, but also the other thing is like so my whole family is like sick. Like
Mhm.
they have certain different ailments, and then the cat I had, and so then I get like all these like physical symptoms, and I'm like, okay, so am I taking on everybody else's symptoms here, or is this where I, is this something like I need to be aware of and like taking care of something, or are they just distractions, or I'm not really sure what's going on.
It's the energetic manifesting in the physical, which happens as we can happen with people. I think I wrote a post once on it out there on Shays Insights. It talks about spiritual viruses. I think I wrote it. I hope I wrote it. Where we can have energetic things that manifest, and especially with women, because the female body is archetypally tied to the universe and creation, more so than it is for men. It's true for men too, but more so for women. And that's what you're experiencing. And just so what you know, for your family, for those around you, sickness shows up sometimes when energetic stuff is being released and it's time, and there are people aren't letting it go. And so the sickness helps facilitate, because it become, the body becomes weakened and it has to process it. Their focus has to work on that. It allows energetic stuff to fall away, to get processed away, and for the new to come in without their necessarily knowing about it, especially for those not necessarily awakened on the spiritual path. So that's when you were talking about it, I said, boy, that's what that's about. And it's for you to be aware of it, yes. And the fact that it's manifesting in your body, once you're aware of it, that it's an energetic, that's my shorthand here, manifesting into the physical, you can release it.
Okay.
You can release it. And it actually is for you to release. And you're, because of your awareness, just our talking about it, it's already beginning to speed up right now.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But yes, that's what that's about. And by the way, you're affected more so than others here. And I've noticed that from time to time. Sometimes we're more linked to the planets than others, the universe. And when a planet goes into whatever pattern it is, and Mercury's in retrograde or whatever's in retrograde, we really become more affected by it because we're connected to it. And that seems to be the case for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can confirm
Is
that
that
for you. Yeah, it's true.
the Venus in Leo?
Yeah, what I'm just seeing that you're really connected to it, and as you move out of phase with it, it will not have the effect that it has now on you. But right now, or at least over this short period, it has been truly affecting you.
Yeah. Not functioning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yes.
So update on my cat though. I think that we've narrowed it down to allergies, and so now we're gonna deal with the allergies. But
Yeah, and I'm going to stick with what came before. And it's the same thing. It also seems to be energetic with them, and because of your connection and our pets, we have a connection with them. But yeah, and I think it seems to be a good thing, and helping them is also helping you.
okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yes, it is. And that's all your high self wants me to say. So that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, so is there a way to help my family get through all their stuff?
Yes. And the short answer is following your path, being aware of these things, releasing it because of your heart connections and other connections with them. As we release things, the shared connection that we have with other people, some people call it karma, but the shared things that we have between them that are lessons for both of us to learn, as we release ours, oftentimes others are also at a point where they may not be aware of it, but they're ready to let go too. And our letting it go and our growing helps facilitate their growth. And that's certainly true of your family.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Good to
Yeah.
know. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Anything else?
I think that was it.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yes. All right, Pat, are you ready now?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good.
So first of all, as we've kind of been hitting upon, things seem to be changing at a rapid rate, and that goes in our personal lives too.
Yep.
Again, as we've been saying, and my, for instance, has to do with, we've been planning for weeks to meet with our 8-year-old grandson and his legal guardians, just out of Hungry Horse at a nice little lake, and have a picnic with them. And guess what? There's a huge fire that is making the quality of the breathing quality and everything horrific over there.
Ooh.
So I'm going, okay, you plan, and then the plan is sort of awry. I mean, you could still do it, but it's not going to be that pleasant. So we'll see. And then I'm also observing and talking to other people recently who are seeing so much crisis in people.
Yeah.
And we have a neighbor who took her own life just recently.
Mhm.
And that was like, oh my gosh, that took, days to get by that. And so, just talked to a lady today who we didn't get into any specifics, but, we both agreed, my gosh, we hope when we see each other in a couple of weeks that we're kind of feeling a lot better. And then John and I have a personal issue with a family member to discuss with you, hopefully in the very near future.
Okay.
So, but other than that, I think that everything is just moving at the speed of light, literally. The energetics and just crazy.
It is speeding up, and they've talked about this. Dr. McKimmey talked about it. June. Peter Navarro, the one I mentioned earlier, he talked about, he and Peter, Dr. McKimmey knew each other, and they all knew about this. This is the time, I believe that Edgar Casey also talked about this. These are the accelerated times, and we are to flow with it, ride the crest of that wave. And the best thing that all of us can do, not only for ourselves, but for others, we are light workers. We're vessels as well as instruments of higher guidance, the divine, however you want to think about it, the universe as well, definitely the universe. And as different people come, as we're around different people, we're going to become the vessel for those people for what they need. And the best thing we can do to help others is just being connected, walking our path, and when others react the way that, like Lisa talked about with the situation with, that lady, it's just bless it. And if we can be there and it can work, great. If not, sometimes we have to walk away. But whatever our guidance is, we are to be that anchors of light to help others move on in their own path. And just know, if they choose to make it more challenging for themselves, that truly is their choice. And oftentimes that's an inner choice. They'll tell you, oh no, I want it to be easy and whatever else. But the reality is as Joseph Campbell often says, he says, all those problems in our life looks like it's all caused out there, but we are the source of them all in reality. And if we know that, and others aren't ready to they're still busy projecting, but we know that we can be the vessels of light. And if we can be with them and be an uplifting experience, wonderful. Maybe they're going to have issues, but just know that the divine, the universe, and higher guidance, and their higher guidance as well, is going to use us as a vessel of the energies that they need in that moment, even if they are anything but receptive to them. Oftentimes they won't be receptive to them, but it's the very thing that they need. And if we know that, I think it can really help us in the moment to deal with sometimes discordant or frustrating situations. Just know that all of you are doing it. I'm seeing it. Everyone here is flowing with it. And that's what we are to do. And the world is going to be this way for a while. It's going to be chaotic, and it's going to crumble some more because people, they don't have for those who are not on a spiritual path or do not have spiritual awareness, or for whatever reason are just not ready to move on, it's going to be a rough ride. And we are to bless them, to be there for them, but we are not to take on their karma. It's really important that we don't do that, that we don't take on other people's problems. They created them. We can help them, be a blessing to them. But as Eryn said, if they're not willing to take the input, thank you. You just know that it's them, and we need to move on in the way that we're guided. And that's what's coming in from the universe for all of you, is just to know, because as this gets more, as you run into situations that are more chaotic, we obviously, because we're compassionate, loving human beings, we want to help them. But sometimes that's not our place. The best thing we can do is being the vessel of light, be there in the moment. If we're guided to say something, we do. Or if we're guided to do something, that's fine. But beyond that, it's for the others to choose what they're going to do. So that's all I have.
That's awesome. Do my guides have anything they want me to know?
Yeah, and we can talk more later about it, but just you're plugged into your guidance, and there's various, and you already know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. All these different areas of your life that many things are, they're really good and they're moving in a positive direction. Other things are challenges to be resolved, but just to stay plugged in and just flow with them. And sometimes it's easier than others, but just know that you're making the progress that you are to make. Sometimes it may not seem like that to you, Pat, but your higher guidance and your whole guidance team want you to know that it is. And now I'm going to chime in on this. This is just me speaking, but sometimes, and I think they agree, that especially when we don't think we're making progress is when we're doing the hard stuff. And you're doing, some of it's easy stuff, some of it's medium stuff, some of it's hard stuff for you, but you are doing it, and that you are to continue.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
And thanks everybody for being on the call and your energetics contributing.
Oh, yes. And it's such a blessing because you're helping me get plugged back in again, especially spiritual, because tomorrow I go back to, it's my employment, but really it's a chance to do the very thing we're talking about, be plugged in and just watch what happens as things unfold. I have 100 2-minute relationships throughout the day as a cashier. It's a wonderful thing. And some people are aware of it. You know how it is. You can tell they know. Some people more so than others. And other times they don't know, but they just know that when they see us, they know there's something happening, but they don't know what it is. And that's because we're vessels of light. We're light workers. So, all right. I'm just going to go around real quick. Does anyone have anything to share? Pat, anything more?
Oh, you have done a great job.
Oh, thank you. Even though I was late, thank you for catching me. Thank you for making the phone call. You got me plugged back in.
All right.
Lisa, anything for you? Anything before we close?
I forgot to ask just real quick. So Jessica and I are getting ready to do a show over in Idaho. We're gonna have jewelry, and I'm gonna be having a new thing I'm adding to my business, which is called permanent jewelry. And so I'm just curious if you can get any kind of hit on how that's gonna go for us and how the permanent jewelry, if that's gonna really open up and expand my business more.
Boy, I'm going to give you a preliminary, that's what I'm going to call it, a spiritual preliminary, energetic preliminary answer. It's just kind of begun. And you know how it is, it takes a while for it to permeate out there to really get for people to like, oh, hey, that's right. I'm ready for that thing. So what I'm getting for you is to be out there, create an awareness of it, and keep that awareness out there long enough for it to be absorbed as sponges by the others. And then you're probably going to have to shift your presentation or your marketing, I'm going to call it that, your awareness of it after it's been out there for a little bit to get people to engage. Okay. And then I think it's going to move into some other stuff too. I think it's what that is going to expand or, I don't know, segment or something. I'm not even sure what the word I want to say, but it looks like it's something for you to put out there, and to keep out there again, so the awareness so it can crystallize, and then you start getting engagement. But when that happens, you're going to have to shift again your pattern to make it so that it continues and moves on. And then other things are going to move in, it looks like. But I'm going to shift back to your question that you didn't ask, which is back to the original, what you talked about, what's happening. That is the pattern of your life. You're to be out there doing things, and the things that you're doing, but on a personal level, because of where you are in the pyramid, your interaction with others and society is going to be different now. And it's going to continue to evolve. Sometimes a whole bunch of stuff will happen. You'll think, oh, hey, things are happening. And other times it's just going to just flow with it, is all I'm going to say. Actually, not me saying it, is you're hired from the divine saying it for you. To be aware of it. It's evolving. That's what I'm going to say. That's the word. It's evolving.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But
does
yeah,
the-
but as for your question, yeah, I think it is for it to be out there, but it's going to take a while. It's funny how that happens. We put something out there, and it could be the very thing that people are asking for and wanting, but it takes them a while for their awareness to catch up with that reality. So,
right.
yeah.
And does the show look good for us?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a positive thing. I think we always have more expectations. We want a little bit more than what's there, but yes, it's a positive thing, and it's for a chance for you. I'm not sure who said it. One of your guides, it could be your high self. I don't know. Somebody said it. Allow it to be kind of like a vehicle to allow the momentum to continue. Just keep that going in each activity that you move into, to allow it to permeate out there, and as that happens, then when you go to the shows, there'll be more and more things that can happen at each subsequent event. I'm going to call it a show event, because it looks like you're doing different kinds of events too, as they become available.
This one's a much bigger show. The ones I've been doing have been really small and
Yeah.
not that great. So
This one looks bigger though.
yeah, it's like over 200 vendors.
Yeah, it looks bigger, and it's a real chance to get that permeation out there. And then don't be dismayed if you don't get the instant feedback, I guess is what they're trying to say, is just know it's permeating and crystallizing, and just keep going at it. And then when you sense it's time, like, oh, you got the fish on the line kind of a thing, that's when you shift your pattern. Oh, you get them, and then engage in whatever new way it is for you to get them to start buying your product and doing and engaging with your offerings, the various offerings that you have. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome. Franny, anything more for you? Any last minute? Oh, by the way, something to share, something to ask. Okay, I'm going to move on to Eryn. Do you have anything last minute to share or ask before we close?
No, I think I'm good.
All
Thanks so
right. Oh, you're welcome. And I thank you for sharing that. I find my heart kind of excited like a child's heart, children get giddy. I'm kind of giddy for you, and I don't entirely know why, but I feel like there's more happening here than they're letting me know. And that's because they don't let me know, because I'll blab. And that's why they sometimes don't tell me. If you want to keep it a secret, don't tell Jeff, because it'll get out, and they may not want it out yet. They want you to discover it. So thank you.
Okay. Yay, sounds good.
Tonya, anything to share? Questions to ask? Anything at all?
No, I think I'm good, and just thank you, everybody. I love meeting with you guys. I'm looking forward to this, so thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you. Jessica, anything more?
Yeah, actually I was wondering, do my guides have anything to say regarding where my career should be going?
Yes, they do. And I want you to know, actually, cancel that. They want you to know, and I'm just the vehicle of the message here, that you're already getting it. They have been working with you and you're getting it energetically. Some of it in the dreams, even when you don't remember them. Some of it just your sense of things or events that happen. Yes. Um, and they want to do it this way. They want to build on that relationship with you in this manner, because it's going to grow as time goes on. Your interaction with your guides, it will become more engaging. I'm going to call it that as time goes on. But
they don't want to tell me anything in like, this is the way that you're going, like, because I'm really.
no, and it hasn't solidified yet. It's beginning to gel. And I'm going to share something that happened to me once, and they want me to share this. When I first
Okay.
left the Navy, I was used to doing, Navy always had things for me to do. I didn't have to worry about it. Go here, go do this, whatever it is we did. And so we did. So I got out of the Navy and I was looking for a job, and I knew it would be at the time, I was in IT security and IT. And I thought, I'll do that. And I kind of sensed there was a job waiting for me. I could feel it moving. I could feel it coming into my energetically into my energy field, but I couldn't see it. And I had a friend of mine who used to do tea leaf readings, although she didn't need tea leaf readings. She could just tell you, but it made her feel better reading the tea leaves for whatever reason. Then she could say, I didn't tell you, the tea leaves did. And I said, okay, I get it. And she basically said during one tea leaf reading, she just said, yeah, you can have it. It was a real short one. She says, yeah, the job's there, but it hasn't been created yet. In other words, it's still the place that I'm going to be going, this thing that I'm going to be doing, it hasn't quite crystallized and gelled yet. I'd say that, share that with Lisa too. So much of what she's doing is in the process of crystallization. The same is true for you. And they want to have you get it organically from them. It's really important that you get it that way. And they're partially just because as you do that more, the more you'll do it. And part of it, boy, it'll short circuit it if they tell me and I relay it to you. It'll actually short circuit the very process you're in. So that's why. You're on your path. You're doing it, and it just hasn't gelled yet. It's coming, and I'm going to tell you, please be patient. It's going to take a little longer than you would want.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's no point in sugarcoating this. It's going to take. But once it starts happening, and you start having a glimpse of it, then you'll have. I think you'll have your own radar will sense it. You'll sense how far away it is, and you'll feel it coming. But you're
Okay.
not quite there yet.
Okay. Well,
All right.
thank you.
You're welcome. And last but certainly not least, Marci, anything else?
I would just ask, is there anything that you see I could do to hold my focus on sender more? Because I'm all over the place a lot of times.
You may not want me to tell you this. It's okay right now for you to be all over the place for a while. You actually, the inner core of you is doing what you need to do. And this other stuff, spurious stuff, is really kind of a mechanism for you to make new connections, but really to let go of some of the other stuff. Yeah, so they were okay. Your high self's okay for me letting you know that. It's okay. It looks weird and it seems odd, but it's the way you're choosing to do it. I'm going to say it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you being you.
Yeah.
And it's
Somebody's
a good
got to
thing.
do it.
It's a good
Okay.
thing. Oh.
Thank you.
And the stuff that's coming up, it's coming. And not the real near horizon, but it's not far away as it was before. And enjoy these times that you're in and all this that you're doing, because when it changes later on, whatever this change means, you're gonna miss it.
Okay.
Yeah. And your high self and your guides and this Hawaiian goddess woman wants you to know that. I don't know. I don't think it's Pele. Maybe it's Pele, but I don't know who it is. But she wants you to know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Is there anything else before we close?
Thank
Well,
you.
just blessings to all of you. Thank you. And again, Pat, I'm a broken record on this, but thank you for calling me, because I talk about unplugged. That was me. And I feel, and this is good because I feel like all this energy coming from all of you on my screen. I can feel it, all of these different channels of energy, of light coming from all of you. And we're all a blessing to one another. And it just, I know that's, we always say, but it's so true. Thank you for just all of you being here and sharing all that's happening in your life. And until next time, blessings, light, and love. And I'll see you next month.
Thank you,
Love
Debra.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.